What's up with Sony and Concord? I've been seeing a lot of posts and comments about Sony and some crappy live service type game called Concord, a game I honestly had no idea about, but I'm completely out of the loop on what this is all about. Can someone explain what happened and why there's so much talk and controversy surrounding it? I get that it had been in development for long, but what's so special about its spectacular failure that literally everyone's talking about it? Answer. Concord is a multiplayer shooter video game developed for the PS5 and PC. The game was in development reportedly for 8 years, and upon the open beta and full release, there are very few players active on PC per Steam charts. It is thus assumed that the PS5 has very few players as well. The game had a budget of over $100 million, so this is seen like a huge financial bomb for Sony. Why the game has poor reception is a myriad of factors. Based on the initial reveal and reception, I think the biggest issue with the game is that today in 2024, there are just too many options available for competitive shooter games, and most of them are currently free to play with microtransactions for cosmetics. Meaning, if I wanted to get into a new online game, I have tons of choices that cost me nothing to at least try, and if I like it, I can invest my time and money into the product. Concord did something that a lot of people claim they prefer, but it doesn't seem to be working. The game is $40 up front just to play, but all cosmetics/updates in the future will be free without a cost. This is good on paper, but IMO the truth of the matter is that the gameplay and characters/world/unlockables lack much of gamers' interests. The game was revealed at large earlier this year with a character trailer. The graphics and presentation are top-notch, but gamers were not interested or hooked by the world. The art style is very realistic, yet tries to be colorful. Overall, the characters look like regular people cosplaying as cartoon characters, and not cartoon characters themselves, if that makes sense. If you look at other shooters, they either embrace the cartoon/stylized aesthetics, or are full-blown realistic. Concord immediately gave us the worst of both. Again, it looks good on paper, but in practice the characters are not very attractive or stylish, and in the real world, players are drawn to cool images. I feel like this was the first immediate sign that people both had tons of options already, and this one lacked an immediate draw. A final issue is the writing and attitude of the game. The game's humor tries hard to be quirky and Marvel-like, but these tropes are quickly falling out of fashion with a few exceptions, like a Deadpool movie. People can quickly see through the facade this game has, and that it takes a lot from other things without trying to be original. The entire thing just feels corporate, and players today are very cynical and resistant to those perceived efforts. When the beta and final game released, we saw few people playing. On the gameplay side, I think the game has major issues that are not communicated well, which might further hurt the game. While the game has a lot of characters and modes, the game actively forces you to switch characters to build abilities, but these only affect you and not your team. I saw a review by SkillUp on YouTube, the best review of the gameplay out there now, so worth a watch, and he went in depth to basically say that as a team shooter, it is overall quite inferior to a game like Overwatch or Apex Legends or even Valorant. The game's attempt to carve a gameplay niche is there, but not well communicated, and not working well in practice. There is a game mode called Rivals that is round-based and has no respawns, and the reviewer said this is actually the best mode because the game elements come into play much more effectively without respawns. But very few people are playing it. With so few players, they are sticking to the simple main modes and not the hardcore modes that actually highlight what could possibly make the gameplay good. So overall we have a game that fails 2 core tests. Is it worth trying? And is the gameplay good and worth it in the long run? The price tag with lots of competition makes most gamers not want to shell out their hard-earned money to try something that might not be good, and quite frankly, looks bland, generic, and irreverent. The gameplay, while not the worst, is lacking that core gameplay loop or differences that can at least create a small but dedicated community. I think the game needed a lot more time in closed betas to get feedback on how game systems/menus function, so players can quickly know how to play the game and strategize. Honestly, if the gameplay clicked and had a good loop, even with a $40 entry fee, it would have a larger, small compared to other games though, and dedicated community that can see the gameplay as worth it above everything else. Alas, that did not happen, and the entire product is crashing and burning.